Winex is back, and you can see it's back with a vengeance. So here we are at the Sandton Convention Centre on the 28th of October 2022. 3 years since the last time Winex was in this space with this crowd. And what a wonderful crowd, and what a wonderful return.
Our very first Winex. It's been our first chance to actually get to the public, and we've been absolutely amazed at the response of quality that we've been putting down and the amount of people that have actually come through. It's certainly a winner for us.
We've gained a lot of experience because we are among people who have been long in the industry. So we're learning from them. So I'm sure with the next Winex will be a better experience.
We've been coming to Winex for so many years, and after a short break, it's absolutely wonderful to be back in Sandton at the Convention Centre with incredible wines and amazing support from Johannesburg. Cheers.
Well, that was Standard Bank Winex 2022. This is Standard Bank Winex 2023, and behind me, slowly trickling in, the first of what will be thousands of guests over the next few days. What is not just South Africa's greatest celebration of wine, but quite possibly the world's greatest for sheer number of wines on show, sheer number of winemakers pitching up, and sheer numbers of thirsty wine lovers who come along to try it all out. It's an event that's become ingrained in the South African wine diary. Took a little bit of a gap over that time we no longer talk about, but it's now firmly back on its feet. And what really makes Winex stand out is the fact that so many of the winemakers themselves come up and don't just show some of that wine from the bottom shelf. They're often showing that really top-end stuff that you're lucky enough to get a glass of. Of course, they wouldn't dare do anything else because the man behind it is the single most influential figure in South African wine, but more importantly, his wife is the most terrifying person in South African wine. So together, they form a team that has not only brought Winex back together, but has also got a brand new partner on board. The man in question, needless to say, is Michael Fridjhon. Michael, smile on your face, and rightly so, because aside from the new sponsorship we'll talk about in a moment, aside from the fact you've got so many great winemakers and great wines here, just the fact that Winex is back and looking better than ever as something you created and brought up from the very start, for all your wine achievements, this is one of the ones that must mean the most.
I have to say it does. It's a really important event. It's important for me, for us, for all of us. I think it's important for the Cape wine industry. The show that it morphed from was the old Grand Daily Mail and Business Day festivals, and that show started in 1976, and I must say that as a student I happened to attend it. In fact, I happened to work at it, so I really am as old as the show. It helped me. But the really interesting thing is it was fading. It had lost its pizzazz, its ability to pull the crowds. And since the creation or the incarnation of the show as Winex, it has grown, it has become a force. And I think it's played a very important role in the transformation of the wine industry in the very broadest sense of the word, not in terms only of the demographics of who come to taste and drink wine, but in the sense that it has brought an engagement with wine that didn't exist 20 years ago. It's gone from being a kind of elitist beverage to something that people love, talk about. Yes, there are still wine bars, but the real thing is we see it all the time here. True wine enthusiasts finding their way into the maze that is wine.
And I love that development, because if I think back to going to Winex in Cape Town in my post-university days, I clearly remember taking my friend Lurker Fleming, and the name probably indicates where this story is going, to Winex, and we stopped at the Meerlust stand. He tried some Rubicon and asked if they did it by the box because it would be very nice for a digs party. It didn't get the kind of response he was probably hoping for. Generally, at that time, there were a lot of people asking, quite innocently, do you have a red? Do you have a white? I remember last year hearing people going, do you do a skin contact white? I'd like a slightly less wooded Chardonnay, but with a bit of age on it. These are the kind of questions people are now asking. And I really feel Winex has been part of that education process.
I really think it has been. It obviously hasn't done it on its own. It's a once-a-year event. But it has given that sort of moment of crystallization where the work of the publishers, the critics, the content creators, all of that stuff comes together in a single room with, as we've seen this year, 900 wines, 180 or thereabout exhibitors. It really is that point where all those threads that make up the year in wine come together in this wonderfully woven tapestry.
And that is a big part of why you've got a new sponsor on board. Now, this is not well done, Standard Bank. We'd like to congratulate you for putting lots of money into Michael's event. I'm genuinely happy that they have, because of what this event then allows the wine industry to do. So, yes, it's channeled via Winex and Michael Fridjhon, but effectively, this is Standard Bank supporting South African wine.
Absolutely. And Standard Bank, has been there for South African wine. They've sponsored the Shannon Challenge, but this is a bigger thing. This is Standard Bank saying to South African wine, we see that you are part of the glue of the fabric of our society, and we want to engage through you with that society. From a Winex perspective, it's exciting to be with the retail bank. The reach of the message of Winex can suddenly go to a vastly larger audience. Standard Bank, I think, is the largest retail bank in the country. It's just the kind of reach that the wine industry needs if it's to get itself out of the doldrums of, dare we say, declining exports and all that comes with it. We know that our industry does need support and assistance. It doesn't want a handout. It wants the opportunity to put its best foot forward.
Standard Bank are a new partner, a very welcome one. You've got a slightly longer term partner in Norman Goodfellows. We're going to be talking to them in a moment. They're here to allow people to buy the wine that they fall in love with, to help them find out what to fall in love with before we let you rush off and run your rather large festival. Give us Michael Fridjhon's Beginner's Guide to Winex. You walk in the door, 180 plus producers, 900 wines. Even I'm slightly overwhelmed. I work in the industry. What should you be doing if you're here for a night to try and get the best out of the evening?
I always say that you should start before you get here for the night. You go onto the website, you see who's here. You can do a sift by style of wine, varietal. So if you are a Sauvignon Blanc drinker, then look through the Sauvignon Blancs, identify the producers whose wines you've heard about but never tasted. That for me is the most important part about Winex, is that the price of your entrance gives you infinite numbers of taste. And so if you like brand A, don't go and taste brand A. You already know you like it. Make the voyage of discovery that is Winex, a discovery to know more about the wines you like, and also to take your tongue to places it's never been before. If you love Sauvignon Blanc, give Shannon or Chardonnay another try. And the best place to do it is where you have nothing else to deal with.
That's a very good way of taking it on. Congratulations. It's looking fabulous. I know it's full of excited wine drinkers. Final quick question. Are there still tickets available for Thursday and Friday?
There are tickets available for both nights. More for Thursday. Friday, as we know, does get very full. So my sincere appeal to everyone is focus on Thursday. But if you can't make Thursday, we'll welcome you on Friday. We'd love to see you here.
Michael, thank you very much indeed. Good luck with the week.
Thank you. And you too. All the best.
Michael Fridjhon.
Go Booker.
Go Booker, indeed. All right, so Winex is now officially underway. In just a few minutes, we'll be speaking to Pietri, who's joining us from Tybosh. Before we speak to him, we've got the team from Norman Goodfellows, so I'll let them slip in. Jason McAvoy is Global CEO and Daily Head of Tasting at Norman Goodfellows. And what's happening at Norman Goodfellows, as has been the case for some time now, is that when you come along, you find some wine, you like it, well, you simply fill out a form, swipe your card, and voila. You'll find Jason and Bali in a bucky outside your house a few days later, delivering some wine. Jason and Bali, lovely to have you both here. Set aside the Norman Goodfellows partnership for a second, just as two leaders in the South African liquor industry, to see Winex back at this level, to see so many different wine brands, wine producers, bottles of wine, and people coming to enjoy them. This is a really good sign for our industry.
I think the amazing thing about Winex is the category is so broad, and so when you're shopping, you end up buying the same thing again and again. And being able to come to a show like this where you can taste, I shouldn't know how many wines it is, but I know it's hundreds. You're able to really taste and find what you like, scan a QR code and buy. It makes it accessible, makes it fun, and the turnouts in terms of wineries, number of wines, and consumers this year is looking very exciting.
And that, Bali, makes it really good for somebody like Norman Goodfellows, because you're going to now have people who are not only buying wine here as they can, but in a week or two's time, they arrive at the store and where perhaps pre-Winex it was all completely intimidating and overwhelming. They're going to go, oh, hang on, there's the Le Chant, I know that. Or there's the Thai-Bosch, I know that. Wine they've now tried and feel confident buying.
Absolutely. It's all about confidence, Dan, and making sure that we are accessible to everyone. The show, the Winex show, makes us relevant, and it makes us stay in touch with our customers and consumers. And like Jason said, it's even bigger and better this year.
Not just from a commercial perspective, just from an individual perspective. And Bali, you and I talk a lot about wine whenever we do a tasting. I know there's a quiet order goes off afterwards, because even for those of us in the industry, there is still so much we can learn, especially at an event like this.
Absolutely. Just within, varietals in themselves, there's so much one can learn. I'm still learning. I've been in the industry for quite a while, so it's absolutely just amazing to see everybody come together, to see the wine farms as well, being able to support them still in this journey, in this partnership. So we're very excited.
I think you make a good point there. I've been in this industry for over 15 years. Obviously, I started when I was 15. And in 15 years, I'm still learning. And that is how deep and broad and wide wine is. And I enjoy coming to an event like this and being able to taste a lot of wine.
Take me through that education perspective here. There are a lot of people who are coming along. You might be watching at the moment going, hey, I'm going to be coming along to Winex. How should I take it on? Michael Fridjhon gave us his take. What's your take on getting the best out of Winex and maximizing the experience?
So for me, I would always start with, I would walk through the room, understand what there is. If there's wine I know, I would generally not taste it. I would try to taste wine I don't know. I would start with the whites and the bubblies, and I would then come around with, after I've tasted those and go through the reds. And then you can scan everything you like, adds it to your basket, and at the end of the night, you can figure out what you liked enough to buy and what you think maybe you'll look at next time. Maybe take some screenshots to remember it for later, and then get that wine home and cold.
And this is the wonder of the modern world, Marley. People, I like this wine. It tastes fantastic. Bang, swipe of a QR code, swipe of a credit card, and 3 days later, one of the two of you is outside my front door.
I'd love to absolutely meet some of our customers that are here tonight and personally deliver one or two deliveries. But yes, Dan, to your point, absolutely. It's about, us aligning with the fact that, we're in a digital world, we're in a digital space, and digital is part of our lives. So how do we incorporate that and make the process, the journey, the experience a little bit more easier for newbies and for people coming back every year to Winex?
We do need to correct something there, Dan. Not 2 to 3 days. The wine actually has to come up from the Cape because we don't know what's going to be ordered. But all wine will be delivered before the 30th of November.
All right. Well, there are going to be thousands of bottles sold. So the fact that you can even do it by then is very, very impressive. Quick one for the two of you, because I'm eating into your tasting time. And I can feel you itching to get out there. Now, Mbali, what's top of your list to go and try out?
Oh, definitely Kulu Fine Wine. I've seen a lot of their social media posts. It's Black owned, so I'm very, very keen to go and have a taste there. And some of the usuals I've seen, the guys are looking amazing, but I do want to go and try some of this more. Particularly the red selections that they've got, because I'm a white wine girl, so I need to step out of my comfort zone.
All right, Samantha Keith makes fabulous wine. Jason, what is on your agenda?
I think a bit of Booker Notes Cliff, because I saw them give me the hairy eye over here. I'm going to step out my comfort zone. I was walking around them educating people on how the barcode thing works. I haven't seen what's in the room yet, but I'm going to find wine I haven't tried or haven't tried in some time.
Enjoy it. There's plenty to be tried. Enjoy the 3 days, and thanks for being such a crucial part of Winex. And of course, Dan really likes wine.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
There we go. Global CEO and head of tasting, Jason McAvoy, along with Mbali Zondo, who runs the marketing team for the Norman Goodfellows crew. They've got a very busy week because a lot of wine does get purchased here over the course of the event. And it's such a lovely way of getting out, discovering, sampling. Hey, you know what? I really like that. Put that on my list. And a week or two's time, once that wine has arrived, you're able to showcase it to friends and family and tell the story of that wine because you've discovered it right here at Standard Bank Winex. Right, you've had the mechanics from Michael Fridjhon and from the Norman Goodfellows team. Let's find out about some wine and catch up with a good friend of mine. And it's good to see you.
Welcome to Sin. It's nice being back.
We were supposed to. The next time we were supposed to meet up was over at Crayfish Briar with some of those giants you regularly poach after hours. But I'm quite happy that we've caught up before that, because this is not just a great place to meet up, but it's also such a wonderful celebration of South African wine.
It is. I mean, it's amazing to be back here at Winex. last year was only our first one, and it's always such excellent exposure to present your brands and to get more people actually able to touch the bottle and to taste the wine, to get the look and feel right for our potential new markets and new clients. And it's great to be here with LeSean and Kaibosh. I think it's excellent wines that we're showcasing here tonight. And we can't just dive crayfish and have fun. I mean, you can also come up and actually pour and present some wine too.
It's still very early days in the broad brand story. Kaibosh, Pink Valley, now LeSean as well. How much has the brand grown in those few years? How much recognition, how much people understanding who you guys are and what you're doing?
Yeah, well, it's incredible to see the growth that we've had over the past few years. I mean, you kickstart with one wine, which was the Kaibosh, and then suddenly you get another baby, which was the Pink Valley, and then you get another baby, which was the LeSean brand. And for me, the best thing is to actually get out into the market, get the wine sold, do the hard yards yourself. It's at the end of the day, I think it's an industry where you, as soon as you, that the look and feel of what you do really adds up. And it's nice to actually see that you're growing with the brand and that the brands are growing as it should. And it's been doing a tremendous job in the last few years.
We spoke to Michael Fridjhon about this being a voyage of discovery when you come to Winex and you've got the chance to step out of your normal wine comfort zones. You've got a few brands that tell stories that might not be the kind of stories people usually work with. And I think in particular of the rosé and the success you've had with Pink Valley. How much for you is it not just a let's sell our brands, but get people to learn and understand more about wine in general?
No, it is. I mean, Pink Valley is obviously, it's a wine that's produced in a very different style. And I think when people think of rosé, they have a certain mind, or they think of it in a certain extent. In terms of color, it should be pink, or it should be sweet, or it should be dry. And to actually get the opportunity to tell people more about the wines, tell them more about the styles. And if you look at our style, it's the typical Provençal style. We want people to taste the Provençal style that we can produce from Stellenbosch. So it's great to get people to taste the wine. It's great to teach them about the different styles and the different ways of actually producing one wine. Take the rosé, you have Sangnier, you have your Provençal style, you have a white and red that you can blend. So in terms of what you can actually teach people here, it's incredible.
Quick one for you, because I know you've got a very busy evening. I can see the jersey proudly in place.
Yeah, for the book and we some wine.
What should I be drinking on Saturday from across your range?
Well, I would definitely suggest you to kickstart with our LeSean Blanc. It's 100% Chenin Blanc, made in a very light style, less wood, less oxidative, but a very fresh and fruity wine. So I think for a kickstart to the day, that's going to be an excellent wine. You better come for a bottle at our stand.
I will do exactly that. Pietri, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you back down on the farm soon for those crayfish.
Of course. Thank you very much.
There we go. Pietri looks after the brands this evening across Kaibosh and LeSean and Pink Valley. He's working specifically at LeSean. One of the great things about LeSean is they've got a cracking wine bar in Stellenbosch, one of the 892 wine bars currently open in Stellenbosch, and that was yesterday's stats. There might be a few more by then. But if you are up here, the Kaibosh story is a particularly good one. The revival of the old Cordoba under a new label, but with a crescendo doing proud the stories of old from that particular part of the Helderberg. So there are three brands that Pietri has got. My next guest laughs at the thought of only having three brands. He's got a few more than that. Lenton, welcome. Lovely to have you on the show. And a man with a busy couple of days ahead, because there is a lot that you are looking after. Buchenhout's Club headlines in terms of the brand we all know so well. Go up a touch, you've got some Porcelainberg, you've got the Chocolate Block, famous around the world, you've got the Wolf Trap, and then a handful of others. Talk to me about this big, broad, sprawling portfolio that somehow you seem to be able to juggle rather successfully.
Yeah, I wish I could say that I'm always juggling it successfully. I think there's one man who juggles it successfully for us, and that's our fearless leader, Mr. Kent. Mark obviously drives an incredibly dynamic business for us. So whenever brands are interchanging with us all the time, and if we're losing one here, we're adding another two elsewhere, and that's exactly what we're doing with Winex now this evening, introducing the public to two new brands.
Tell me about them. What have we got?
Perfect. So you spoke about the Helderberg with the guys from Tybush. We're just a little bit down the road from them. To celebrate our winery there, we have Helderberg Winery. So we've got a new Stellenbosch wine, blend of Cabernet with a little bit of Cinsault and Syrah. So sort of a Stellenbosch heritage blend, so to say. Then to kind of add a few more wines onto our Cabernet team brand, which is situated in the Himlanada Valley, or the upper Himlanada Valley. We've added 2 new wines, the coastal ones, a coastal Chardonnay and a coastal Pinot Noir. All under $200, excuse me. So adding some really good juice under $200 and giving the consumer something wonderful some good value, we believe in.
Now, obviously, you've had a look at the wine market and thought, right, here's a gap, here's something we can fit in. At a time when many people are paring things down, you guys have clearly got the foot in the accelerator.
Exactly, especially on the Cabernet team side. We really spotted a nice gap for quality Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, sort of under that $250 price point. In our case, we're managing to get it just under $200. And Gottfried managing to find us some really, really good vineyards and some really good grapes, which is crushing it and it's good for us.
Hard to think of a better place to introduce these because people are coming along this evening. They've paid their money. It's time to drink some wine. And the majority, there'll be some who are a bit stuck in their ways and just want the stuff they've always liked. I think most people come here with a quite open mind and want to find something new.
Things like shows like Winex, you can't sell secrets. And as long as bottles are open and people are willing to kind of stick their glasses out, we can top them up in a little bit of wine. The proof is in the tasting, so that's what's wonderful about Winex, and we can make sales instantly through the great system with Norman Goodfellows.
It's an incredible book and Hartscliffe story. It's one we've had the pleasure of telling a few times on the Dan Really Likes Wine story. Is it one where you see an evolution of your wine drink as opposed to perhaps starts at the Wolf Trap 10, 15 years later when they've gone from intern to CEO and now drinking the book and Hartscliffe from the porcelain book?
Absolutely, and we see those people come through to shows like this at Winex who come and tell us when they were students they were drinking Wolf Trap or Porcupine Ridge, through to their sort of early adult years where they kind of might be on something like Chocolate Block and not steadfast in drinking book and Hartscliffe, and kind of walking us through their journey. I will regale a good story though. We had some people visit us recently who came to us and picked out our Wolf Trap White, which is one of those wines. I'm not sure why white blends are just not a big thing, because white blends, we're producing fantastic white blends in our country. But they were telling us when they were students, they were pouring Wolf Trap White into the water dispenser in their fridge. That's where they were storing it.
I love that story. Some terrific wine. I know you've got a busy few days ahead of you. Thanks for coming on to showcase it.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
and I look forward to trying these new wines.
Absolutely. We'll see you later.
All right. There we go. From the empire that is Book and Hartscliffe, with that range of wine, including the brand new ones. If you are coming along to Winex at Cape Maritime in particular, quality Pinot Noir at under 200 Rand. Well, if Gottfried Mock is making it, it will be quality. Your chance to come and try it out here at Standard Bank Winex, or if not, at Book and Hartscliffe, or find it at Norman Goodfellows. All right, let's head up the road a little, say goodbye to Franschhoek, and move on to the upper slopes of the Bunhook Valley, where a man who was described to me by some American visitors last week as the most charming man with the loveliest hair I've ever seen, now finds his way onto Dan Really Likes Wine, and not for the first time. Damien, welcome. Lovely to have you back.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to it's a sprawling event, this, and it's one that everybody who comes along, I think, comes along with the same kind of level of excitement, because they see lots of really cool brands they recognize, but there's also a chance to discover so much that you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like Vincent's just talked about 2 wines which we've not yet tasted, so there's more Stellenbosch to taste again, which is really like a nice space to be in. And there's loads of brands which you can reconnect with, retaste against your own sort of juice as well, and just kind of reestablish where we are with our brand and how we sit amongst the peers or the other guys in the different wards.
Now, if we look at a brand like Delagraph, it's a very, very upmarket brand. It speaks to diamonds and luxury food and gourmet dining, and probably the best hotel in all Stellenbosch. And yet you're here in what's a fairly communal and open space. Obviously means this kind of engagement for your wine is so important.
Yeah, it's an incredibly important market for us, Johannesburg. All markets are important to us. So neither one takes second position to another, but we have to invest in each market just the same way as we'd invest in Geneva or in New York or California or any other space. So we take the same approach. We kind of come here with the best and try and just make as big an impact as possible.
We know that the biggest wine market in the world for South African wine is Johannesburg, but we also know that in terms of volume of bottles sold, we also know that it serves as a bit of a hook. People find a wine they like, they don't just want to buy more of it, but they want to come and visit. How much translation do you see of people meeting and discovering your brand in Johannesburg to 3, 6, 9 months later, dropping by for lunch or maybe celebrating a special occasion with a stay over?
Yeah, so I mean, the reality is that about 30% of the guests on our property are from the domestic market. So, but in context, that's a lot of people. So we see, up to 400 people on the property in a day. So, 120 for lunch and then 150 for the tasting lounge. There's 2 restaurants in the property. There's 16 lodges, the villa, etc., and the gardens and all those other parts to our business. And so the translation is a large volume of people. And going back to the original point, Johannesburg is very important because Cape Town is seen as a kind of destination to go to. We probably see more Johannesburg people on our property than we would see Western Cape people, but that's because it's on the doorstep. So it's a destination people are going for, and so they make the point of coming to Delagraph if they're coming from further afield.
It's a destination that, amongst other things, gives them some terrific wine. You brought a bottle here along. What have you got, and what, along with this, people got to look forward to this week?
So yeah, the reason I brought this bottle is actually we've elevated our brand. So we've consolidated from about 23 different wines to now 13 wines. As part of that consolidation, we have reframed the Cabernet Franc, the Coastal Cuvée, the Banhoek Chardonnay, and the Botmuscop as a luxury range. We're also showing the Shiraz at the moment as well. So those 5 wines are on show at Winex this weekend or this week. And the reason I brought this wine is because we've reduced the volume. Part of that consolidation means that we've almost halved the volume that we produce in that farm. We've managed to take only the specific best blocks for this wine. And then what that means when we have almost half the volume is we have the ability then to remove parts of the first press or the end press and only really use the heart of that press, which is the best juice. Gives it a bit more time in the cellar, so Mornay can spend a bit more time on lees contact, a bit more textural work because of that lees contact. And so the wine is quite distinctively different from the 23 from 2022. 22 was amazing, but much like the diamonds on our property, we see something, and if it's fantastic, we also look and see if we can make it more perfect. And so that's what we've done with this brand. Elevated the bottle, elevated the label, and just elevated the juice.
Well, you'll have a chance to try it out for yourself at the Delagraph stand. Tell Damien Dan really likes Wine Centre. He'll give you something special.
Sure.
Thank you, and thanks for looking after us when we're down on the Cape. So
Great pleasure.
Back
Anytime.
down again soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks, Dan.
There we go. From Delagraph, David Joubert talking us through selection of wines and changes at Delagraph, and changes well worth investigating. All right, so that is in the Stellenbosch Valley, the Banhoek side of things. We say goodbye to Stellenbosch and we head out to a different part of the Winelands, and this time the Hemel and Arder Valley. The Hemel and Arder Valley is famous for 3 things in particular. It's famous for Pinot Noir, it's famous for Chardonnay, and it's famous for Emil Ross. That would be the 3 in particular. Well, lovely to have you. Welcome back to the show. You've done so many things like this over the course of your winemaking life. Do you still get excited to come to something like Standard Bank Winex?
I certainly do. I think it's it's one of the biggest sort of shows that we do. We've been supporting it since 2000, which I believe was the first, and it's a great way for us to connect with our loyal clients on this side and to see old friends and to there's a lovely energy. People really appreciate the effort of coming out all this way, and it's nice to have our team here to share the wines with people. That's always good.
And they also really appreciate the chance they get to meet the actual winemaker, kind of reach out and touch you and have a selfie. Ooh, he makes the wine. And I think that's a really big thing for all of our brands, no matter how big or successful they might be, still having that sense of engagement with the wine buying public.
I think it's great. I mean, I really, for me, that's part of the fun of being a winemaker. We certainly don't do it for the, we have to work for at least like 3 months of the year we have to work quite hard. So, I love the interaction with people and the comments in the wine, and it's a great opportunity to share the passion with people that want to come out. So it's great.
Now, the passion that you have translates into the wine that you give us. What are people drinking when they come and visit you at the Hamilton Russell stand?
Well, the Chardonnay gets smashed quite early on, and then when they come around for the red wine loop, they do the Pinots. We've only got those two wines, obviously Southern Rite and Ashbourne as well. We're very fortunate this year to have a beautiful stand next to each other, so we're expecting it to be nice and busy, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, just one last one for you. Give me an update on this extraordinary project you're doing over in Oregon.
I returned slightly earlier than expected because of the storm that we had in the Cape, but to help sort out the little bit of chaos that we had. But a fantastic vintage in Oregon, beautiful fruit, very healthy, very respectable analytically. So I'm very excited. It might be the best we've made. Certainly from, I think, Pinot Noir, absolutely I'm hoping it's the best vintage we've made so far. Chardonnay is finishing off ferment now. It's at about 10 grams of sugar, so it should be done by the weekend. But it's looking great. It's great to be there, and it's lovely to see how Oregon's embraced Chardonnay. Pinot's always been the red wine card, but Pinot Gris was the big white wine, and there's just this absolute bloom of fantastic Chardonnay, and we're on that wagon, and we're making great Chardonnay there, and it's fun to be part of that whole process. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm looking forward to trying some more of it at some point. There's plenty of South African wine in the interim. Enjoy Winex and prepare for the crowds. I think there'll be a few.
I will do. I'm going to go right. Good to see you. Cheers.
Thanks, Emil. Winemaker at Hamilton Russell, putting together some terrific Chardonnay and Pinot Noir under the Hamilton Russell label. They also have the Southern Rite, which includes their Pinotage, and they've got the Ashbourne. So a lot of wine for you to check out there. So that's up in the Hamilton Ardor Valley. We were in Stellenbosch a moment ago, and we now return to this special edition of Dan Really Likes Wine, brought to you by Norman Goodfellows at Standard Bank Winex, with a visit to Stellenbosch. And in this case, given we're in World Cup final week, I thought it only appropriate we bring in a man who had the option of playing for the Springboks and decided, you know what, the South African people need my wine. I'm going to set aside my own personal hopes and dreams, and I'm going to make wine for them instead. Berto, lovely to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Dan.
And a warm welcome. Former Stellenbosch rugby star, which means you've probably, in between making wine and Alto, been doing what I've been doing over the last 2 weeks, and that's trying not to have heart failure watching the Springboks.
Oh my word! I think my kids saw a different side of myself because I watched both games with them, and it was exciting stuff. But they left it until the last second. So but very excited. I'm very happy that we are there, and a final is a final. It can go both ways.
I've got one more rugby question to ask you, but I'll leave that till the end of our conversation. Okay. I don't ask you about the welcome distraction you have. If you can forget about the rugby or thereabouts the next few days, coming back up to Winex, what does this event mean to you, mean to Alto?
Dan, we are, if you look at our total sales, we probably do about almost 50% of our sales is in Gauteng. So it's a very, very important market for us. And obviously, plowing a little bit back, showing some wines that the people don't usually get to see or get to buy. So it's important for us to visit the market. It's important for us to be active in the market and to stay relevant. We need to be in the market for the sales to run now.
What about the introduction of people to new stuff? You've got such a dedicated following for the Alto Rouge. There are some people I've met who, hey, Alto makes something else because they're just so devoted to the Alto Rouge. How important is it to be able to showcase the breadth of what you're doing?
Yeah, we still focus on the three pillars. It's basically the Rouge, which is probably our standalone wine for the last 100 years. And then Cab obviously plays a really important part of our business, supported by a little bit of Shiraz. And then the other two is actually just playing a role in the back. We have a beautiful estate blend, which is currently a Bordeaux blend, but it's changing over to what we do on the farm, which is predominantly Cab Sav, a little bit of Shiraz and a little bit of Cab Franc. So sort of an alternative blend. And then the MPHS, which is, I won't say our icon wine. Icon wine is probably the Rouge because the Rouge is what everything was built on. But it's a Cab Franc blend and only made in certain years. So yes, it's nice for us to showcase those wines.
the MPHS is only available from the estate, so it's good for us to have it here and for the guys to come and taste it.
I'm interested just in the basics of an event like this. How much wine do you get through over 3 nights?
When watching the Springboks, or no, you know, we all enjoy wine. Like when Bayer Streeter, he always used to say that he only enjoys half a bottle of wine a day, but preferably the bottom half. So, so
he has to get through the top.
He has to get to the top, yeah.
Well, I'm guessing that across the crowds, it's into the hundreds of bottles as you pour away for very happy people. You also get the chance to buy some of it. You also get the chance, and I see this already, to not just see all of your customers, and possibly new ones, but also to catch up with old friends and see the rest of the wine industry here.
Yeah, we obviously there's a couple of times when we see most of the wine industry, but it's a small industry, but we're all scattered around the Cape Winelands, let's call it that way, which is basically an area that probably covers 300-400 kilometers. So you don't get to see everyone every day. So it's very nice for us. Obviously, after the show, there's a lot of things happening in the evening. So good to catch up again and to connect, and yeah, just to be involved in the industry, and such a lovely industry with such nice people. It's what do you want more?
I did say I was going to ask you one more rugby question. I will. I'm actually responsible for the Springboks winning their quarterfinal and semi-final because I came up with a theory that's paid off, that if I drink a wine with a rugby link from the vintage of a World Cup winning year, we'll be okay. So quarterfinal, I drank some 2019 Rustenfrieder Cab, Jannie Engelbrecht, and we snuck through. The semi-final was a little more touch and go, but I drank some 2007 some Merlot from Longridge, because Jasper reckons he used to play rugby. I also drank some 2007 Hotespur, because Big Rob, the late Big Rob, looked like a rugby player, and then some 2007 Columella, because if we have a wine world champion, it probably would be Ibn Sadi as a 2-time winemaker of the year. And now go to 1995. When I put this question to my viewers, a number of people on Monday's show said, drink some 1995 from Alto, iconic South African. That's the way to go. Do you think that could be the wine to get us over the line?
Yeah, well, we need everything we can get, I guess. So if we can get a bottle of that wine, I guess it should be able to help us. The wine I've tasted the 98 the other day. I've had someone that I actually gave a bottle to, which was I think 82 or 83, which was still drinking perfectly. So I can't imagine that 95 will be anything else.
All right. Well, whatever we're drinking, we're hoping it's with a smile at the end of 80 minutes and heart still in place. Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah, thank
and have a great week.
Thank you. Thank you. We look forward to Saturday.
There we go. One of only 5 winemakers they've had in over 100 years. Berto from Alto, who produces, amongst other things, that iconic Alto Rouge that sits in the homes of so many South Africans, but which also has a number of other wines on that list. All right, well, let's go from very serious winemaker to somebody who's just arrived in a petrol attendant's outfit.
It's my rodeo clown outfit.
The Grand Pig. David Webley, welcome back to the show.
Man, happy to be up in Joburg.
And this is a big market for you, isn't it?
It's a market we've always looked at. I just think we haven't really sort of taken the bull by the horns, excuse the pun here, and really given it a go. So I thought, leading up to summer, and especially with our sort of rose as our sort of focus key point, I thought, what better than Winex? And I've done this a few years back with some other brands, but now I get to do it for myself, which is super exciting.
It's a terrific platform to speak to people who, simply by having bought tickets here because they do have a genuine interest in wine,
100%.
But who don't necessarily know everything about every wine there. And for you guys as a brand that is so quirky, it's often got 2 layers to it. People get drawn around, but that looks quite cool and fun. Yeah. And then they discover that under all of that, there's actually some very serious wine.
Well, that's it. I mean, you've nailed it on the head. Our brand sort of preaches that. We're trying to get people excited about wine. Again, not take it too seriously. What we put in the bottle is obviously serious, but have a bit of fun with it and engage. And I've got to thank Fridjhon for putting me right at the front door. First come, first served.
When people are coming up, they're going to be asking you about the Spider Pig story, asking you about the wine, asking to just find out what it's all about. Yeah. What is the 30-second version you give them, given that you could be here all night just with the first person?
Oh, geez, we do such the whirlwind with branding and our sort of coining phrase there. And I think Spider Pig is just an engagement platform. It's we don't take it too seriously. We want to acknowledge the consumer, make wine fun, and just create a platform for people who are just starting out to wine. Or some people that do know a lot about wine and just want to take a little breather from the heavy stuff. Come and stick a glass of Spider Pig.
So they'll be learning from you. You'll probably be doing some learning as well, because it must be such an attraction as you're serving up the wine. looking around at your horizon? God, there are another 40, 50, 60 stands I'd love to be going to explore.
Yeah, no, it is tough. I think, and it's just a part of our due diligence as a brand like ourselves to see what other people are doing. We're selling brand South Africa at the end of the day. So my cause is also to get this, across the waters as well and bring the attention back to South Africa. And I think everyone's trying to do the same thing. So it's high fives and thumb taps all around.
And a quick reminder to people who aren't that familiar with the Spider Pig brand, you are the face and chiseled physique of the brand.
Finally.
But there are some pretty high profile winemakers. I know you can't always mention all of them, but you've got some big names who've made some wine for you over the years.
Look, we've worked with the likes of right in the beginning, Adam Mason and Paulo Ferri. They gave us the platforms. Stephanie Reed. We've some Christa Lariche has been with us with the Black Pig, and we got our new 2021 out here today, which is quite cool. And recently joined forces with Peter Carson's at Lernco. It's nice to be able to sit at the table with these guys and we get a different sort of input from all that. So sometimes I just feel to sit, listen, and be a sponge. Yeah.
Well, you've got a lot of people who'll be sponges to you over the course of the next few days.
Yeah.
Have a great time spreading
Excellent.
the Spider Pig gospel.
Just for you, brother.
Oh dear. The Giant Pig, thank you.
Thanks for being a supporter as always, man.
Have a great few days.
And he's wearing pink.
And I'm wearing pink. So there we go. The Chief Pig, the head of Spider Pig, which is it's just a lot of fun, really. But what I love about it is that the fun is just part of the story. Beneath that level of fun, there's some incredible winemakers delivering some really cool and exciting wine. Speaking of incredible winemakers, well, the next one is somebody from the state that I know well, as you'll know from past shows. It's the place I celebrated the day after my wedding, where my mother recovered after breaking her leg dancing on a table at my wedding the night before. She made me promise never to mention it on the show ever again. Hello, Mum. JD, welcome.
Hello, Mum.
There we go. I still remember you. I thought there might be a black armband around that left sleeve because there's been terrible sadness at Warwick of late. Former South African schools lock forward Tom Orpin has moved on and left you.
He sadly vacated the building. Unfortunately, moved on to greener pastures. Applied his great line-out skills at some other line-out. Unfortunately, we miss him. We wish him well.
And it is, of course, the nature of the business. You've yourself moved on from other places to where you find right now. You will learn as you go in these different spaces. You also learn at a night like this. And we've got so many people coming in who are here to explore and discover how important is an event like Winex for a brand like Warwick in terms of exposing people who've definitely got the ability to buy your wine to find out what you're all about.
Absolutely. It's a great exposure. I mean, this hall physically is massive. There are a lot of great brands out there. So it's a great opportunity to walk around, mingle, chat to the people that make the stuff, sell the stuff, and ask a few questions and be able to engage in a level that you don't normally get to do in Santa. So we're very spoiled in the Cape that you can visit the farm and you can have this interaction on a daily basis. Here, I think it's a wonderful experience. And at this level, and the amount of wine and the level of wines that are available, it's not entry level, it's not mid tier, it's top tier, it's everything is available. So I think it's a great showcase for South African wine. And ultimately, you can buy the wine here. I'm so grateful we've moved into the digital age to scan a QR code. We used to be able to hand out your barcode. I'm glad we don't have to do that because we spend half the night looking for the barcode. But
good work.
No, it's a great show.
Oh, good work there, Norman Goodfellows. I do want to ask you about that level of wine because you've got so many people who've come in and bought their tickets. There's always the risk that something like this can just become wine's answer to a beer fest and everybody's just drinking away. And yet there is a discernment to the audience. It's no longer just, do you have a white? Do you have a Sauvignon Blanc that's very cold? People have a real understanding of wine at a greater level.
Exactly. And I think that's part and parcel of what the show does. There's a very big educational value to it as well. A bit of etiquette, a bit of how wine works, and et cetera, et cetera. And also from a producer's side, a responsibility not to pour a glass and have fun. It really is an event to taste wines and explore stuff that you don't know and experience stuff that you don't necessarily buy. So, and hopefully people see that in that light. Obviously, you have a few that see it as a drawl and a beer fest. I think Friday night might be a bit challenging with the rugby kicking off at 9. It might be a very festive half an hour or very dead half an hour at the end, but luckily we're not in that game. But yeah, it's a great, I think, environment for people to share wine and experience it and get to know it.
Yours is a brand that is particularly well known, but there'll definitely be one or two new touches, I'm sure, if people are coming along. What's new and exciting from your perspective as a winemaker?
Well, exactly. So we've got White Lady. We're pouring tonight just to something that you don't find as commonly as we First Lady Cabernet Sauvignon, for instance. So it really is to showcase a few wines that we don't sell as generally as the First Lady range. Obviously, they're also available. So if you really like the Cabernet or Chardonnay, that is here. But we'll have some older vintage trilogy, etc., available just to kind of showcase stuff that is available and what we do to show the versatility of the brand and also the quality of the terroir and the ageability of the wines.
There are many good friends of yours who are around. That also has to be a fun element of it, but in between pouring all the wine, a chance to nip over, say hello to somebody you haven't seen for a little while and seeing what they're doing with their brands.
Absolutely. So for us, we generally bring more than enough staff to work behind the stand to always kind of rotate somebody to be able to mission around and taste the wines. It is a great way to observe what everybody else is doing from a little bit of a market research point of view. But as you say, obviously also from a social point of view, it's a great catch up and it doesn't end here. Let's put it that way.
By and large, then, as we look around at this kind of event, taking it as a barometer of South African wine, this would suggest that there is a lot to be positive about at the moment about South African wine.
Absolutely. I think if you take the level of the prices that tickets cost over the last 10 years, how they've increased, the amount of wines available, the level of quality of wine available, and track that over time, you can definitely see an upward trend in the market. So it is definitely, we're a young wine culture, let's be honest, we all know that. And we have to educate the majority of our consumer, but people want to be educated. They're here to enjoy it and they're playing their part. So it's only great that we as an industry can do this and showcase it and then ultimately bring more people in and share the lovely thing that is wine.
So come along, enjoy the wine, ask lots of questions, but if you're a slightly older visitor from Belfast, Northern Ireland, don't try and dance on the wine counter.
Yeah, they're made from cardboard. So,
JD, good to have you here.
Thanks, mate.
And thanks, appreciate it. JD, winemaker at Warwick, another one of our supremely gifted South African winemakers, as we run through a very special edition of Dan Really Likes Wine from Standard Bank Winex. And normally you build up to a great crescendo and you finish on the highest of points, but we're instead finishing on a low. But that low would be Low Stratum, the man behind, I think actually, did I see in your recently amended email signature, General Manager, Mr. Stratum?
Indeed. Trying to manage generally these days. Yeah. Now, Dan, how are you? Good to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come and chat a bit wine.
And chat not just about the Ken Forrester brand, with which you are so intimately involved, but about this portfolio you guys have got, which I think tells a really important story about South African wine, because you're combining some superb wine with French investment. And if the French are buying our stuff, we must be doing something okay. This, for me, is whatever the opposite of a red flag is for the South African wine industry.
100%. I think I was having a conversation the other night with somebody about the South African wine industry and the state of the wine industry. And having recently returned from a trip abroad, it's as if though we're kind of entering what I'd like to almost refer to like the golden era of South African wine on the international level. We're no longer having to kind of feel special to be included in the international wine scene. The international wine scene is coming to us. They're asking about our wines. We're getting foreign direct investment. The sommeliers, the wine buyers, the big restaurant groups abroad are really looking towards our wines, looking towards the Southern Hemisphere in South Africa for what is no doubt the best value for money and quality wine that you can buy, both locally, obviously, and abroad.
There's going to be a challenge for the people who come along to your stand, come along to Norman Goodfellows. As I suspect there's a challenge for you as well in terms of how do we understand these brands? How do we make sure we're not cannibalizing each other? How do we make sure if we're the people coming to buy at Norman Goodfellows that, okay, this is what I want? How do you manage what sounds like a bit of a juggle?
It's you hit the nail on the head. I think what we do is we kind of understand, Norman Goodfellows isn't your average liquor store in South Africa. It already has that kind of premium clientele that go there. So we don't necessarily pitch to Norman Goodfellows our entry level, even sometimes on mid-tier style wines. We're going in with our best foot forward, our kind of middle tier to premium and ultra premium wine offering, and the diverse portfolio that Goodfellows invest in. It really just makes consumer choice not easy, but it allows them a great exposure of what South African wine can actually do across Glenmorangie to Paul to Wellington to Stellenbosch to wherever. It really is just it's a great platform for anybody who's exploring their wine journey to enter and be guided in their choices.
And whether it is Ken Forrester FMC, as marquee as Chenin Blanc in South Africa has, or some of the top Kleine Zalze products which have been winning awards and awards and awards, some of the single vineyard Chenin or Pinotage from L'Avenir, you've got product that really is right up there. If you'd said to me, as little as 10 years ago, a big European brand has bought into South Africa, I would have thought they were looking for bulk wine, and that is why they've done it. This is turning that on its head.
It is. If you look at the Advini Group, who've done the foreign direct investment in our concern from Ken Forrester, L'Avenir, Kleine Zalze, Le Bonheur, and Stellenbosch Vineyards, you can see that they've really been specific about their investment or where to spend their money. I think the European markets are under pressure to deliver value for the shareholders, and coming to South Africa a year ago so far. So they invest in these great brands, these strong brands, and we are turning a great return on investment for them. And in that, the portfolio is quite diverse. You have a Chenin strong portfolio, no doubt, but you look at, like you just referred to, L'Avenir being a Pinotage, the future Pinotage development with day two. It really is it's a real, like I say, the perfect mix for any international company involving South Africa, and they'd encourage others to look this way too. There's another French conglomerate that's recently invested and purchased Valera, and I think that is only exciting, for the South African wine industry to see these people come in and takes you one step further to our friends at Ernie Els, who brought in Baron Hans von South Reichsenstein to purchase on the Helderberg. Now he's got Stellenbosch, he's got Altu, he's just recently bought Bilton. Ernie Els and everything. This is just an exciting time to be part of the South African wine industry.
That kind of investment is not just exciting, it's much needed.
It is.
It's doing a lot for the industry. On the excitement barometer, where does it sit when you turn your head over that broad shoulder of yours and see this room filling up with so many people ready to take on and engage with so many great brands?
It's so exciting. I walked in here and I pushed open that door, and the caliber and the quality of this event, it really doesn't have to stand back for anything we experience overseas. I walked in here and I might as well be in Dusseldorf where we do Provine, or I could be in Hong Kong in one of their conference facilities. It's that stature. And the most encouraging thing about it's home South African. Obviously, it's a South African event. The consumers are going to be spoiled. They're getting the best of the best. And to be able to host such a thing, you've even got the guys from Riedel Wine, Glass of Stemware, in my glass here, that sent their rep over from France to be here. When you've got multinational companies sending their marketing teams to South Africa to represent at the trade fair, I think, again, that's just a sign of the times of what a good wicket we are actually in at the moment.
We might chat to Frans K. Smith just before we wrap up. I know he was floating around a moment ago, but if we don't, I'll end on a rugby note with you, Lo. You travel more than enough. You sit on planes all the time.
Yeah.
I made this point with a couple of rugby guys earlier on this week. Rugby and wine, for me, are those two elements, I think sport in general, but rugby in particular, that just consistently seem to deliver the South African story in such positive light all over the world.
It really does. I think what happened in 2019 reaffirmed again, our caliber and quality as a rugby playing nation. But even since then, our wine has stood up on an international World Cup scene, if you will, and delivered prizes and World Cup trophies over the last 5 years. Last year, our brand won Best Chenin Blanc in the world. This year, you had the IWSC, the International Wine and Spirits Competition, vote Canon Corp as the best red wine producer in the world, and Jordan Wine's the best white wine producer in the world. Similarly, you had the Reach that won the best red wine blend in the world. Those are World Cup titles. And then you look at what the Boks are doing overseas, flying the South African flag the way they're doing at the moment, in the home of traditional wine. And luckily we put the French for 1 point in the quarter, but what we're about to do on Saturday, win or lose, I think we can be a hell of a proud of not just what the boys are doing, representing the country out there, but similarly, us as a wine industry. And no doubt you would have found many marketers and winemakers find an excuse to work in France the last 2 or 3 months, to get an exposure, a sense of that inclusivity. And it really is just, I'm looking forward to a glass of Chenin Blanc, on Saturday and lifting a toast to the books. As hopefully we lift the William Webber's one last time. Not last time, but fourth time.
Fourth time and counting.
And
I'm sure there'll be an email or two to your French headquarters just to remind them of the result when it happens. No, thank you very much. Have a great week. Lovely brand. And we also appreciate all the support, not just for Dan Really Likes Wine, but also for the Nickel Foundation and our upcoming golf events and charity.
Looking forward to it. And obviously, Goodfellows, what an amazing company and brand to be able to represent our wines.
There we go. Awesome. Finishing us off, Lowe Stratum, General Manager at Ken Forrester, as well as the Advini Group here in South Africa, running through not just the Ken Forrester brand, but also Le Bonheur, Kleine Zalze, Lavanier, Stellenbosch Vineyards, a portfolio that's seen such investment from the French, not because they thought this wine is rather nice, and I'm sure that's it, but mainly because they felt it was a really good investment. And that, I think, sums up today as a whole, whether it's Standard Bank putting the money into this particular event, whether it's the vineyards themselves investing the time in sending their winemakers up to join the event, whether it's the sheer number of people in Johannesburg and surrounds who've invested the money in a ticket to come and spend their evening here, either tonight or tomorrow or Friday. It's a wonderful collective endorsement of just how well the South African wine industry is doing and how proud we can be of it at a time when, let's be honest, in South Africa, we do have one or two challenges. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Sandton Convention Centre for a very special edition of Dan Really Likes Wine with Norman Goodfellows at Standard Bank Winex. Thank you to a great range of guests with some even greater wine. If you don't have tickets yet for Thursday or Friday, get them. Come along. It's a wonderful experience, and you'll leave not only knowing more about South African wine, but a big proud smile that tells you what we already know. South African wine is as good as it gets. Goodbye.